And when you're finished, this is your harmonic analysis. Hi, this is Tim Rohwer from Rohwer Music Studios, and today what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing a harmonic analysis exercise. So I'm going to show you how we figure out which chords are which. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to listen to this piano example. So after listening to that, we want to determine what key we're in. As you can see, we don't have any sharps and any flats in our key signature. And so this can be one of two things. It can be C major or it can be A minor. Now, from what we heard a moment ago, it was a happy feeling to it. So this is definitely going to be a major key. So that means it's going to be C major. Now we've got C, E, G on this chord right here. This is a chord built on the first scale degree, and so we're going to call it a 1 chord. Now this one is D, F, and A, D, F, and A. And since this is built on the second scale degree, this would be a 2 chord. And it happens to be that in the key of C major, and in most keys, that the 2 chord will be a minor chord. And we indicate that by putting it lowercase. The next one is a 3 chord, also a minor chord. Then we have F, A, and C, which is a 4 chord. Then we have G, B, D, which is a 5 chord. And I've included on the chart, just for a reference, a 5, 7 chord. Then we have a 6 chord, which is also minor. Now right here we've got B, D, and F, which is a diminished chord. We indicate that with the little circle over there. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to label what key this is. This is the shorthand for C major. Then we have our first chord, C, G, E, and C. And this is going to be a 1 chord. Our next chord right here, F, A, F, and C, has all the notes for a 4 chord. So this is going to be a 4 chord. And this is all the same notes, actually, just in a different order, F, C, F, and A. So we have another 4 chord. For simplicity's sake, we don't reanalyze that. We just leave this right here and just makes it cleaner on the page. The next chord that we've got G, B, D, and G. And this is going to be a 5 chord. Then we have C, G, C, and E, another 1 chord, and then C, C, E, and G, and again, we don't need to relabel that. Then we have F, C, F, and A, another 4 chord. Now this chord right here, we can do one of two things. In a future episode, we'll talk about non-harmonic tones. We could call this E and this E not part of this 4 chord, and that this is still a 4 chord. However, we're going to do something just a little bit different today than that. We're going to say that this is a new chord. We have A, C, and E's. And this, in the key of C major, would be a 6 chord. However, we've got a note in the bottom here that is not the root of the chord. This note in the bass is the 5th of the chord, and we call this a second inverted chord, a second inversion chord. And the shorthand for second inversion, because from the bass to the next note up, if we condensed it, would be a 4th, and from the bass to the next note would be a 6th. We call this a 6, 6, 4. Anytime you have a second inversion chord, you need a special function for it. It just doesn't quite sound right if it has that 5th in the bottom without any purpose. In this case, it's going from an F to an E to a D, and so this we call it a passing 6/4 because it passes from this note to that note, from that note to that note. It's just better voice leading when we do it that way. Now this next chord, a G, a B, D, and an F, is a 5/7 chord, but it's an inversion. And this one is going to be another second inversion, and we're going to call this a 5/4/3. And I put a link in the description for where you can find some more information about inversions, but that's our 5/4/3. And it will also be a passing 4/3, as you'll see in a second. It goes F, E, D, and then down into C in the bass. Now next on this line we have a C, G, E, and a C. And this is another 1 chord, and this is actually, this first measure of this line is the same as the first measure of the first line. So we know that the next one is going to be a 4. And this one is also a 4. Then we have a C, C, E, and G. So we've got a 1 chord. Now this one we've got a G, a C, and an E. And this is another 1 chord. However, This is an inverted chord because we have the fifth of the chord in the bass here. So this happens to be another second inversion chord, a 6/4 chord, and this one is right before cadence point, and so we call this one a cadential 6/4. The next chord is G, B, D, and F, which is a 5/7 chord, which continues for the rest of the measure here. And the last chord we have C, E, a C, and a C. And this is going to be a 1 chord. We're missing the fifth, but that's totally fine. It still functions as a 1 chord. Now, the very last thing that we want to do is we want to talk about cadence points. Now, this spot right here, we've got this 5/4/3 that happens to be a half cadence. When you've got a cadence point that ends on a 5, it's very incomplete, and we refer to that as a half cadence. Now, this cadence right here, we've got a 5/7 to a 1. The bass line right here is a sol to do, and in the soprano we have the note of a do as well. And so this is going to be a perfect authentic cadence. And that is your harmonic analysis.